It started as an ordinary morning for 12-year-old Malik, a bright and kind-hearted kid who always tried to do the right thing. He walked to school like he did every day, his backpack slung over one shoulder, minding his own business. But that day, something unusual caught his eye. A sleek black leather wallet lying on the sidewalk near a fancy coffee shop. He glanced around, but no one seemed to be looking for it. Curious, he picked it up and flipped it open. Inside was a thick stack of $100 bills, crisp and untouched, along with a shiny gold credit card. The ID inside revealed that the wallet belonged to someone named Charles Whitmore, a name that meant nothing to Malik until he saw the words printed underneath. Asterisk asterisk CEO of Whitmore Industries asterisk asterisk. Even though Malik didn't know much about the business world, he had heard that name before. Whitmore was a millionaire. For a split second, Malik hesitated. That amount of cash could change a lot for his mom and little sister. But he shook the thought away almost instantly. His mother had always taught him that doing the right thing mattered, no matter the circumstances. So without a second thought, he made up his mind. He was going to return it. After a quick internet search at school, Malik found out that Whitmore's office was just a few blocks away. During his lunch break, he hurried over to the towering glass building, feeling small compared to the business professionals walking in and out. The receptionist raised an eyebrow when she saw him, a young kid in a simple school uniform, holding out the expensive wallet. "I found this outside. It belongs to Mr. Whitmore," Malik said politely. The receptionist looked skeptical at first, but took the wallet and disappeared into the back. Moments later, a tall man in a tailored suit stepped out. Charles Whitmore. His sharp blue eyes scanned Malik up and down before he took the wallet from the receptionist. He flipped through it quickly, then glanced back at the boy. "You actually returned it?" Whitmore asked, almost in disbelief. "Yes, sir," Malik nodded. "I figured you'd want it back." There was a brief silence before Whitmore let out a small chuckle. "Huh, didn't expect that." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a few bills. "Here, kid, for your honesty." Malik hesitated, but then shook his head. "I didn't do it for a reward, just wanted to do the right thing." For a moment, Whitmore looked at him, an expression Malik couldn't quite read. Then with a small nod, he slipped the money back into his pocket. "All right, kid, get back to school." With that, Malik left, feeling good about his decision. He had no idea that just a few hours later, his entire world was about to be turned upside down. Back at school, everything seemed normal. He sat through math class, joked around with his best friend, and was packing up his things when it happened. Blue and red lights flashed outside the school windows. The sound of sirens echoed down the hall. Then the unthinkable. Two uniformed police officers walked straight into Malik's classroom. The entire room fell silent as every pair of eyes turned toward the door. One of the officers scanned the students before pointing straight at Malik. "You, come with us." Malik's heart pounded in his chest. Confused, scared, he had no idea what was happening. The teacher stammered, Is there a problem, officers?" Malik's legs felt heavy as he followed the officers out of the classroom. His classmates' whispers faded into the background, replaced by the pounding of his own heartbeat. He could feel their eyes on him, judging, wondering what he had done. But he hadn't done anything. Right? His teacher stepped forward, her voice uncertain. "Officers, is this really necessary?" "Malik is a good kid." The taller officer, a serious-looking man with a tight jaw, barely glanced at her. "We just need to ask him a few questions." Malik's stomach twisted. He wanted to explain, to tell them he had returned the wallet, not stolen it. But something about the way the officers carried themselves made him feel like it wouldn't matter. "Do I have to get in?" he asked, his voice smaller than he wanted it to be. The shorter officer, a woman with dark sunglasses, sighed. "We're not arresting you, kid. Just need to clear some things up at the station." But it didn't feel like that. Malik hesitated for a second before sliding into the back seat. The door shut, locking him into a situation he couldn't understand. The ride to the station was quiet. Malik kept his hands in his lap, staring out the window, trying to make sense of what was happening. His mind kept going back to that moment at Mr. Whitmore's office. He had done the right thing. So why was he here now? By the time they arrived at the police station, his nerves were completely on edge. The officers led him inside, past the busy front desk, and into a small room with just a table and 2 chairs. "Sit tight," the male officer said before stepping out, leaving Malik alone. The walls felt like they were closing in as he sat there. He had never been in trouble before, never even had detention. Now he was in a police station, waiting to be questioned like a criminal. After what felt like forever, the door opened again. This time, another man stepped in, older, with graying hair and a calm expression. He had a badge clipped to his belt, but something about him seemed less intimidating than the officers from earlier. He pulled out a chair and sat across from Malik, studying him for a moment before speaking. "Malik, right?" Malik nodded. "I'm Detective Harris. Do you know why you're here?" Malik swallowed hard. "They said something about a stolen wallet, but I didn't steal anything. I found it on the ground and gave it back." Detective Harris leaned back slightly. "That's what we're trying to figure out. Mr. Whitmore reported his wallet missing this morning. Said he got it back, but something wasn't right." Malik's brows furrowed. "Not right? What do you mean?" Harris studied him carefully. "He claims some cash was missing when the wallet was returned." Malik's heart skipped a beat. Missing cash? That didn't make sense. He never touched the money. He gave the wallet back exactly how he found it. "But that's not true," Malik said, shaking his head. "It was all there when I gave it back. I didn't take anything." Harris didn't react right away. Instead, he tapped his fingers lightly on the table. "Then tell me everything that happened, from the moment you found the wallet." Malik took a deep breath and walked him through the entire story. Finding the wallet, looking up Mr. Whitmore's office, going there during lunch, handing it over to the receptionist, and finally meeting Whitmore himself. He even told him about how Whitmore had tried to give him money as a reward, but he refused. Harris listened carefully, nodding at certain points but never interrupting. When Malik finished, the detective sat quietly for a moment, as if turning over the details in his head. "You're saying you never opened the wallet other than to check the ID?" Harris asked. Malik shook his head. "I didn't count the money or anything. I just wanted to find out who it belonged to." Harris studied him again, then let out a slow breath. "All right, Malik. I appreciate you telling me all this. I need to verify a few things, but for now, just sit tight." And with that, he stood up and left the room, leaving Malik alone with his thoughts once again. His head was spinning. Someone must have taken the money before he even found the wallet. But why would Whitmore assume it was him? Because he was the one who returned it? Or was there another reason? Minutes passed, then an hour. Malik lost track of time as he sat there, waiting for someone to tell him what was happening. Finally, the door opened again. But this time, it wasn't Harris. It was his mom. She rushed in, her face a mix of fear and relief, pulling him into a tight hug. "Baby, are you okay? What is going on?" Malik wanted to answer, but before he could, a new voice entered the room. "Good, you're here. Malik looked up, and there, standing in the doorway, was Charles Whitmore. His cold blue eyes locked onto Malik, and for the first time since this all started, Malik felt something new. Dread. Malik's heart pounded as Charles Whitmore stepped into the room, his expensive suit crisp, his face unreadable. His mother tightened her grip on his shoulders, her body tense. She didn't know everything that had happened yet, but she knew one thing for sure. Her son didn't belong here. Whitmore crossed his arms and looked down at Malik, then at the detective. "Is this the boy?" His voice was calm, but there was something sharp underneath it. Detective Harris gave a small nod. "This is Malik. He's the one who returned your wallet." Whitmore exhaled, shaking his head slightly. Unbelievable. His eyes flicked back to Malik. "You really expect me to believe you didn't take anything?" Malik's hands clenched into fists. He wanted to shout, to defend himself, but the words caught in his throat. His mother stepped forward instead. "My son is not a thief," she said firmly. "If he says he gave back the wallet as he found it, then that's the truth." Whitmore didn't look convinced. "Look, I'm not trying to ruin the kid's life. But when I got my wallet back, I was missing over $1,000 in cash. That's not pocket change. Someone took it, and he was the last person to have it before it got to me." Malik's voice finally broke through. "I didn't take anything. I swear. I found it outside the coffee shop, and I gave it back just like it was." Harris cleared his throat, holding up his hand to slow things down. "Mr. Whitmore, I understand your concern, but we're still trying to piece everything together. There's no proof that Malik took the money." Whitmore scoffed. "Then where is it? Money doesn't just disappear." The room fell into an uneasy silence. Malik looked up at the detective, hoping he believed him. His mother's grip on his arm tightened as she turned toward Harris. "Is he under arrest?" she asked. Harris shook his head. "No, we're just gathering information." "Then we're leaving." Her voice was sharp, unwavering. Whitmore sighed, rubbing his temple. "Fine, let him go. But if I find out he took that money—" He didn't finish the sentence, but Malik knew exactly what he meant. His mom took his hand and led him out of the room without another word. The ride home was quiet. The weight of everything that had happened pressed down on Malik's chest. He kept replaying Whitmore's words in his head. Someone took the money, but who? When they got home, his mother finally spoke. "Malik, I need you to tell me the truth. Did you take any of it?" His stomach twisted. "Mom, no, I promise." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "I believe you." Relief washed over him, but it didn't last long. Later that night, Malik sat on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The day had gone from normal to a complete nightmare. Someone had to have taken that money. But if